When you think of the Nordics, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, military giants might not come to mind. But tell that to Russia. These countries may be small, but in Ukraine, they're packing a punch that's making Putin's forces feel the pain with every misstep. With cutting-edge tanks, devastating artillery, and drones that see everything, the Nordics are turning the tide in ways the Kremlin never expected. How are all these small nations making life a nightmare for Russian troops? Let's dive into the Nordic arsenal that's teaching Putin some costly lessons in modern warfare. Russia's invasion of Ukraine awakened historical demons in Northern Europe. Sweden's defeat in the Great Northern War in the early 18th century set off a constant defensiveness about future Russian expansion. Finland was once part of the Russian Empire and often mistreated under Moscow's rule. It also had to deal with Joseph Stalin's invasion in the Winter War between 1939 and 40. The Soviet Union came close to moving into Denmark at the end of World War II. It also occupied the Baltic island of Bornholm and didn't depart until 1946. Norway shares a border with Russia and also had to guard against the Russian threat since the 18th century. So when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, it shook whatever complacency had remained among the four countries. Sweden discarded 2 centuries of military neutrality to join NATO. Finland, which had avoided joining the alliance in an attempt to maintain positive relations with the Soviet Union and Russia, decided to reverse course for its own safety. Unsurprisingly, the Nordic countries have been keen providers of aid to Ukraine in its war effort. From their perspective, they have to as an act of self-defense. Between the start of the war and June 2024, Denmark spent 1.83% of its GDP, €7 billion. Finland spent 0.88%, €2.43 billion. Sweden spent 0.76%, €5 billion. Norway spent 0.54%, €4.41 billion. But this aid has not only been financial. The Nordic countries have built a considerable military infrastructure to defend against a possible war with Russia and have eagerly put it to the test in Ukraine. Denmark in particular has been leading the way in providing military aid. Earlier this year, it donated all of its remaining artillery systems to Ukraine. It was also an important player in getting F-16 fighter jets to the front. Ukraine had requested these from the beginning of the war, but Western countries have been reluctant, fearing escalation of the conflict. In August 2022, Denmark and the Netherlands broke the deadlock. Copenhagen announced it would donate 19 jets between 2023 and 25. Air power should have been one of Russia's biggest advantages in this war, but the Russian Air Force has usually been cautious in the skies over Ukraine. Its failure to establish air dominance was an opportunity that couldn't be ignored. It is fitting because although the F-16 was designed in the United States, the European F-16s have over 80 Danish components. The Danish F-16s Ukraine will receive will include the AN/APG-66 V2 radar, which increases the aircraft's detection range to about 70 miles. There are also specialized targeting pods for guiding precision weapons and improved displays, navigation, communication, and electronic warfare systems. Though early in their run there, the Danish F-16s have shown a penchant for shooting down Russian missiles. On August 26, 2024, Russia launched its largest missile and drone attack of the war. Ukraine's F-16s proved themselves well adapted to shooting down Russian cruise missiles that day, although one of them crashed in the process, a not so unusual occurrence. So far, this is the only F-16 lost in the war. Sweden is set to send a Saab 340 early warning radar aircraft. Once it arrives, Ukraine's F-16s will take on a more offensive posture. Sweden announced it would send 2 of the aircraft in November 2024. The Saab 340 will be able to securely share data with all of Ukraine's F-16s, greatly improving their situational awareness. The Saab 340 has a 193,000 square mile horizontal coverage range and a 60,000-foot vertical range. This is more than enough to cover the entire country, and the Saab will be able to detect everything down to drones. The aircraft is vulnerable, however, as it's a twin turboprop plane with a speed not exceeding 300 miles per hour. Such properties make it vulnerable to missiles, so the Ukrainians will need to be careful about deploying and guarding it. Speaking of drones, the Nordic countries have not ignored the drone war. Norway has sent its Black Hornet nano drone since 2022. As the name implies, this is a small drone with a 10-inch length and 8-inch rotor. It's a surveillance drone, deployable in under 20 seconds, and can collect information up to 1.2 miles out with a 12-megapixel electro-optical camera that is both low-light and thermal capable. They might not get glowing coverage, but they're an important part of a Ukrainian intelligence apparatus that has proven superior to its Russian opponent throughout the war. One of the highest profile donations came in the form of modern main battle tanks. Ukraine also requested these early, but was turned down initially. Then, when it appeared that Ukraine could not win without them, Western countries finally granted approval. The Swedish Strv 122 was one of the tanks sent to the front. This is a variant of the German Leopard 2 main battle tank. Because of the conditions Sweden could expect in a confrontation with Russia, the tank is designed to be even more survivable than its German ancestor. It has reinforced armor including high-hardness steel and tungsten components to add to its protection. There are built-in components to protect the crew against chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear weapons (CBRN). It's easy to camouflage too and has smoke grenade launchers to make it even harder to see. It's mobile enough to cross water obstacles up to 1.4 meters deep. To aid in situational awareness, the tank has laser rangefinders, thermographic cameras, and precision calculators, which means the crew can acquire multiple targets at once. The 120mm smoothbore gun can fire general-purpose heat rounds and armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot rounds that are ideal against other tanks. Two KSP M94 7.62mm machine guns constitute the secondary armament. Sweden has sent 10 Strv 122 tanks to Ukraine. As of October 30th, 2024, Oryx has visually confirmed the destruction of only one of these tanks. In contrast, 8 of the 31 American Abrams have been destroyed, a 25.8% destruction rate. 2, or 14.2%, of Ukraine's 14 Challenger tanks have been destroyed. 21 of the roughly 158 Leopard 2 tanks delivered to Ukraine have been destroyed, 13%, meaning that tank for tank, the Swedish Strv 122 has performed the best, and is of course vastly superior to Ukraine's Soviet-era tanks, which have been destroyed by the hundreds. Maybe unsurprisingly, Ukrainian troops consider the Strv 122 to be their best tank. But the Nordic countries have also donated lighter vehicles to Ukraine. These include the Combat Vehicle 90. The CV-90 was introduced in the mid-1990s, and it's manufactured by BAE Systems AB, the Swedish subsidiary of the British defense firm BAE Systems. It's produced about 1,400 of them in multiple variants. The design goes back to the 80s, when the Swedish military desired an armored vehicle with high mobility, but still powerful enough to be effective against tanks, which they can be thanks to the standard 40mm L70 autocannon. This weapon can fire 2-pound shells at a rate of 5 rounds per second. The vehicles were optimized for combat in remote, forested areas, like the environment in much of eastern Ukraine. Most importantly, these vehicles were designed to be survivable. They needed to be because in any war, Russian tanks and other vehicles would significantly outnumber them. Each CV-90 can carry 8 infantrymen. In January 2023, the Swedish government announced it would donate 50 CV-90s to Ukraine. The CV-90 has fared well in Ukraine. Oryx has visually confirmed 13 losses of these vehicles. 5 of them were listed as destroyed, 3 others were damaged and abandoned, while the final 2 were damaged and captured. These are good numbers, because it's deployed with Ukraine's 21st Separate Mechanized Brigade. This is one of the units that's seen the heaviest fighting in the war, being deployed in the battlegrounds of eastern Ukraine including Bakhmut and Kupiansk. Ukraine did not lose its first CV-90 until August 2023. 2 more were damaged by mid-September, with 1 being captured, but all the crew members and infantry had survived. So far, the CV-90 has suffered a 10% destruction rate in Ukraine, lower than the American Bradley. 53 out of 300 of these have been destroyed, a 17.6% destruction rate. And the CV-90 has proven itself far more effective than the hundreds of BMP-type vehicles Ukraine has lost. In February 2024, Sweden announced that Ukraine would get the CV-90-35 Mark III-C variant as part of an aid package worth $680 million. This version boasts a new turret that offers better situational awareness with a retractable panoramic sight and improvements in fire control systems that implement artificial intelligence. Ukraine and Sweden have also agreed to produce the CV-90 on Ukrainian soil, meaning that Russia will have many more of them to fear as the war continues. Sweden might have given Ukraine the coolest gear, but Finland has also been a player in the armored vehicle game. Such aid includes 20 Patriot armored personnel vehicles. The XA-180 series, an amphibious version, is among these. The Patriot was introduced in the 1980s. It comes with a crew of 2 and can carry up to 16 passengers. It has a maximum speed of 62 miles per hour on the road. A 12.7mm NSV heavy machine gun or 7.62mm general-purpose machine gun serves as the standard weapon. However, the Patriot can equip a turret capable of hosting a 20 or 30mm autocannon, a 40mm grenade launcher, or a 7.62mm coaxial machine gun. Armor protection reaches 10mm of thickness in the most critical facings. The vehicle's slope is designed to guard against small arms and shell splinters, and it has thick bullet-resistant window screens with armored panels that can be raised to provide additional protection when needed. The APC can carry 8 smoke grenades to make it harder to target. It's also designed to protect its occupants from CBRN threats. Because of its amphibious qualities, the 36th Marine Brigade operates the Patriot. This unit has seen action in the Kharkiv Oblast and has used the Patriot Passy to enact surprise attacks on Russian units that did not suspect a water crossing. Oryx lists 6 of the Finnish APCs as being destroyed, a destruction rate of 16.6%. In contrast, 18 of the 90 M1126 Striker APCs the United States has provided have been destroyed, a rate of 20%. France has provided at least 34 VAB APCs, and 20 of these have been destroyed, 58.8%. The United Kingdom has provided at least 35 FV103 APCs, with 13 destroyed, 37.1%. Ukraine has also lost hundreds of older M113 APCs and Soviet-era APCs. Securing the skies over Ukraine has proven to be a challenge, even now with F-16s. Russia continues to use drones and missiles against civilian infrastructure in major population centers. Shooting down these projectiles is necessary to keep the Ukrainian economy and morale intact. Fortunately for Ukraine, Norway has been a specialist in this area with its NASAMS. The Norwegian Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile System, or NASAMS, is a joint production between Norway's Kongsberg Defence and Aerospace Company and the United States' Raytheon Company. It made its debut in 1997. Its jam-resistant radar has a range of slightly less than 50 miles. Its ammunition consists of familiar missiles like the AIM-9 Sidewinder and the AIM-120 AMRAAM series for engagement of targets at various ranges. Its range may be extended in the near future, as it presumably will be compatible with the AIM-260 JATM. NASAMS also integrates itself with the Patriot system to give it greater range and awareness. Shortly after being deployed in 2022, NASAMS was destroying Russian missiles at a high rate. Back then, US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin claimed it had a 100% success rate. Although these claims are likely embellished, NASAMS helped to reduce the effectiveness of Russian bombardments against Ukrainian population centers in late 22 and early 23. In early 24, Ukraine began using its NASAMS systems more offensively as part of an effort to shoot down Russian aircraft at an accelerating rate. By April 2024, Russia lost a tenth of its air force through the course of the war. Air defense works best as a layered network. Part of that includes MANPADS, man-portable air defense systems. The American Stinger is the most well-known of these, but Sweden is also in the MANPAD business. It's donated its RBS-70 to Ukraine. The system is a product of Sweden's Saab company. It made its debut in 1977, but has been repeatedly upgraded since then. In 2011, the RBS-70NG came to the fore, boasting an auto-tracker and integrated thermal imager. The auto-tracker makes it likelier to score a hit on the target. There's also a video recorder to make after-action reviews easier. It has an effective range of 5.5 miles and can rise to an altitude of about 3.5 miles. The RBS-70 is particularly resistant to jamming thanks to its laser guidance system, which Saab claims is unjammable. This is an important development at a time when electronic warfare systems are increasing on the battlefield thanks to drones. The reload time is less than 6 seconds. MANPADS are most effective against enemy helicopters, and the RBS-70 is no exception. It's a known killer of Russia's Ka-52 Alligator helicopter. However, even enemy jets can get in the danger zone if they fly too low. The RBS-70 has been recorded shooting down Su-25 close air support planes. This aircraft, which NATO calls the Frogfoot, is the Russian equivalent to the American A-10, though it's lighter and faster. Despite its status as a supposed flying tank, the Su-25 felt the wrath of American Stinger missiles during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. It's felt the RBS-70 in the same painful way over Ukraine. Sweden announced it would supply the weapon in January 2023. In August 2023, shortly after it arrived, it shot down several Ka-52s and Russian jets in a few hours. This feat was repeated on May 13, 2024, when it shot down 2 Su-25s and a Ka-52. Another notable fact included the downing of an Su-24 tactical bomber on December 5, 2023. And Russia had more to worry about in April 2024 when Australia announced it would donate more RBS-70 systems as part of a $100 million aid package. Sweden has also donated shoulder-borne anti-tank weapons like the Carl Gustaf recoilless rifle, which originated there after World War II and has still proven a formidable weapon. Famously, the Carl Gustaf was the first weapon responsible for the destruction of a Russian T-90, supposedly the most advanced main battle tank in the world. Since Russian tanks have their ammunition racks exposed, one impact, even from a supposedly old weapon, can be deadly. High technology might get all the headlines, but artillery has proven the most important part of the war, as always. Ukraine's firepower disadvantage has been a consistent problem for it, but the Nordic countries have tried to mitigate this. Sweden's Archer self-propelled artillery made its debut in the 90s. Stockholm delivered 8 of them as part of the same deal that involved the CV-90. The Archer fires its 155mm ammunition to ranges over 31 miles, longer than comparable systems in use like France's Caesar. The Archer also has a high rate of fire, 3 rounds in 15 seconds if need be, to affect MRSI, multiple round simultaneous impact. Even before the round's impact, the Archer can move on its merry way, avoiding enemy counter-battery fire. Of the 8 Archer systems delivered to Ukraine, only 1 has been listed as damaged on Oryx, and this unit has since been repaired. It's the perfect stick-and-move weapon. Unsurprisingly, Ukrainian gunners have come to consider the Archer their best big gun. Sweden and Norway have also donated the critical 155mm artillery shells Ukraine needs to win the war. Better, these two countries produce some of the most advanced versions. For example, Sweden produces and has donated Excalibur precision shells. Some videos have shown these shells destroying 2 Russian tanks at a time. Finland has also donated artillery to Ukraine in the form of the KRH-92 mortar. The KRH-92 is a towed mortar that fires a 120mm round to a maximum range of 4.6 miles. The firing rate is around 12 to 15 rounds per minute. Over 3/4 of the casualties in this war on both sides have come by way of artillery. That means getting more guns and shells to the battlefield, but it also means whoever can destroy their enemy's guns has a big advantage, and the Nordic countries have contributed to the latter as much as the former. Sweden and Norway have donated their jointly produced Arthur counter-battery radar. It's a C-band passive phased array mobile radar designed to find enemy artillery, capable of detecting enemy howitzers at distances of up to 15.5 miles. Enemy 120mm mortars can be detected up to 25 miles. The Arthur has a negligible circular probable error of 0.35%. Arthur can scan up to 100 targets per minute simultaneously, track enemy shells in flight, and conduct its own calculations to tell friendly artillery what to hit. The United Kingdom also uses this technology, and 1 British-made unit is listed as destroyed on Oryx. No other units are listed. Ukraine's counter-battery fire has been more effective than Russia's, which is one of the reasons why Russia took more casualties in the Zaporizhzhia campaign, despite having the benefit of the most elaborate fortifications seen in Europe since World War I. The Nordic Arthur played a crucial role in that disparity. Since Russia has an artillery advantage, each successful use of counter-battery radar is crucial, so Ukraine has much to thank the Nordic countries for. Norway and Sweden have also delivered their Penguin anti-ship missiles to Ukraine. The Penguin made its debut in 1972 but is still regarded as one of the best anti-ship missiles in the world. It was sent to Ukraine in 2022 and has a range of 21 miles in the Mark II variation and 34 in the Mark III. To maximize penetration, it strikes its target from a downward angle. The Ukrainians have also used the Swedish RBS-17 land-launched anti-ship missile since October 2022. This is a variant of the famous Hellfire air-to-surface missile. It's a short-range weapon that can cover distances of 5 miles. Although Ukraine's sea drones have gotten most of the attention, these Nordic anti-ship missiles have played a role in the denial of space to the Russian Black Sea Fleet and to its ultimate decimation. Russia has been forced to withdraw its fleet away from Crimea and to the Russian mainland. It did so for a reason. It suffered more naval losses in this campaign than in any conflict since the Russo-Japanese War of 1904-05, with the destruction of a visually confirmed 21 ships and a further 7 damaged. This form of Swedish firepower isn't one-dimensional. Ukraine's forces have adapted the RBS-17 to other functions. By late 2022, video footage came out showing Ukrainian operators using it against targets on land. This adaptability is possible because of laser designators to guide the missile to its target. Finland's Ice Eye company has also aided Ukraine with satellite surveillance, while Sweden's Ericsson company has aided it with communications equipment. Since the 19th century, the Nordic countries have faded from the scene as great powers, and most people at best regard them as peripheral players. But as we now know, they manufacture some of the world's best military equipment, and the proof is in their ability to punch above their weight in number. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has now put the continental Nordic countries in the same military alliance for the first time since the Kalmar Union in the early 16th century. With the 4 now aligned, there is more that they can and will do to contain their mutual historic adversary, which means more disproportionate Russian losses on the battlefield are coming. But what do you think about the equipment the Nordic countries have donated to Ukraine? What more can they do? Don't forget to let us know in the comments. And also make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more military analysis from military experts. Now go and check out Sweden has had enough of Russia, get out of Ukraine, or click this other video instead.